Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we are continuing our lifelong commitment journey as we head into March of 1984, as we watch some clips from Big Bird in Australia. Big Bird making an appearance on The Mike Walsh Show, and the Muppets showing up at the People's Choice Awards. And the main thing we watched this week is 4 more episodes of Season 2 of Fraggle Rock, and those are the episodes titled Sir Hubris and the Gorgs, A Friend in Need, The Wizard of Fraggle Rock, and the Doozer Contest.
Every time you say lifelong commitment, it feels more and more real. It was a joke at first. It's not a joke anymore.
Yeah, no, the more and more I look and do some estimating of our schedule, like occasionally, we have our 100th episode coming up. And so I was like, you know what? I wonder where we'll be at our 200th episode. And so I started looking and scheduling out when that's going to be and looking at the schedule and breaking all that down. I don't know if I want to tell you.
I don't know if I want to know.
But I can tell you when that is currently scheduled to come out. May of 2025 will be our 200th episode.
Is there like an age we need to pick where it's like we can't do this anymore?
I think that'll just come naturally.
Like 75? 75, do we need to what's the retirement age in the United States?
65?
Is that when we need to stop, or is that when we need to double down?
I feel like by 65 we will have caught up. I
hope so.
Presumably, I would say before we are 50. Oh boy, we will be completely caught up on Muppets.
They're gonna play this at our funerals,
and they'll be like, they died before they could watch the 4th version of Muppet Babies.
Yeah. All 800 episodes. Every day a new Muppet Baby episode came out, and that fucked them up completely. They would never finish. AI started making Muppet Baby episodes.
Hell, maybe at this point, we can just let AI make the podcast, and then we can exist forever, and we can never stop doing commitment even after we die.
There's probably enough of us to train a pretty good algorithm at this point.
Yeah.
That only would know about the Muppets, but not really the fullness of human experience.
I feel like we'd have to be making some sort of profit on the podcast by that point because there's no
reason to do it.
Correct. It's like sending the golden record on out to space kind of thing where it's just so AI is making this podcast and no one is benefiting from it existing at all.
Yeah. Humanity's long since ceased to exist.
Yeah. Their families have begged for it to stop, but they set it on a course. And
there's one AI that's making new episodes of Muppet Babies and one AI that's making new episodes of Commitment.
Yes.
And neither of them can stop.
No, they fuel each other.
Happen. Yeah.
Well, speaking of our 100th episode, it is coming up in just a little bit here. We are actually going to be recording that very soon as you are hearing this. But that means you still have a few days before we record that episode. If you want to get in any comments, reviews, praise, negative feedback, we probably won't read that one on the episode, but we would like to read the nice things or the questions you have for us during our 100th episode of the podcast. So yeah, we get those questions in pretty quickly, and we can read them out on the podcast. If you want to be anonymous or whatever, just say that in your email, and I won't say your name. But I also wanted to mention that as you're listening to this, if you're listening to it when it first comes out, next week is the premiere of Muppets Mayhem, the brand new show on Disney+. Comes out May 10th, all the episodes, and our current plan for that episode because people were asking if we were going to talk about it or were we going to wait 10 years until we catch up to 2023 in our schedule. We are not going to wait 10 years to talk about Muppets Mayhem. We are, in fact, going to watch all 10 episodes when they come out and discuss them all in one episode. So it'll sort of be just like an overview, our thoughts, our favorite moments, favorite songs, etc. On the whole series. We'll do one episode about the entire series, and that should come out on May 16th, so pretty soon after the show is released.
And then in 10 years, you can hear our thoughts on an episode-by-episode basis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you stick around, folks. All right, Sam, well then, why don't you tell the people what we watched this week?
First up, we watched Sir Hubris and the Gorgs, originally airing February 27th, 1984. Ma and Pa Gorg think Junior is old enough to get that very special talk. Yes, he's old enough to hear the tale of Sir Hubris and the Gorgs. The story goes that, a long time ago, the universe was ruled by a little non-Gorg guy named Sir Hubris. One day, Hubris decided to go out and explore the universe, leaving his castle and kingdom to the Gorgs. But one day, Hubris will return, and the Gorgs will have to give his castle back and wander the universe looking for a new home. Unbeknownst to the Gorgs, Gobo is listening in as they tell Junior this tale. Gobo sees an opportunity to get rid of the Gorgs once and for all and hatches a plan. He and his friends go out into the Gorg garden, standing on each other's shoulders under a big old cloak, and pretend to be Sir Hubris. The Gorgs fall for it immediately and prepare to depart. But here's where the plan sort of falls apart on old Gobo. Junior starts packing up all of his vegetables and seeds, taking with him the Fraggle's source of food. And Pa decides that they should destroy the old well next to the castle by dumping the trash heap into it and sealing it off with concrete, thus destroying Fraggle Rock as they know it. The Fraggles try to pretend to be Sir Hubris again and say, hey, never mind, I don't really want my castle back, it's okay. But the Gorgs are bound by honor and tradition and refuse the offer. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so Gobo throws off the cloak, revealing them to be a bunch of Fraggles standing on each other's shoulders, and things return to normal. Meanwhile, up in outer space, it's raining a whole lot, and Doc decides to go up while it's raining, like I think in the middle of the night, to figure out how to fix his leaky roof, and then he ends up falling through the roof and just making everything worse. The moral. Uncle Matt lays it out pretty succinctly in his postcard. You never know what'll happen when you pretend to be something you're not. And Doc explains like another sub-moral of the episode at the end of his little part when he says, I embarked on a crazy endeavor without considering all the possibilities. So I guess don't do either of those things. Next up, A Friend in Need, originally airing March 5th, 1984. After pulling off an amazing stunt and setting a new Fraggle record for greaseberry leaf skating, Gobo is feeling like hot shit. He decides to go up to outer space, stroll right up to Sprocket, and taunt him to his face on his way to get the postcard. It's the middle of the night, so Gobo wakes Sprocket up to taunt him, and kind of like, instead of barking and chasing him, I guess Sprocket's like sleepy or something, so he just like rolls a ball after him. Is that what happens?
Yeah, I don't
He's
think it's
just like,
because
hey,
he's sleepy. I think
cut
it's just
that
sort
out.
of like, I think maybe in the commotion, the ball rolls through the hole. Like Sprocket
Okay.
bumps the ball and it rolls through the hole, and then Gobo rolls it back out, and Sprocket's like, oh, friend, awesome.
Exactly. Okay. So that's happening. He rolled the ball back out to Sprocket. Sprocket rolls it back in. But Gobo very rudely stops playing with the ball while it's in the hole. And when Sprocket has to reach in and try to get his ball back, and he gets the front part of his body stuck in the hole in the process. Gobo initially takes sort of a fuck it approach to the situation and leaves Sprocket to his fate, but he quickly starts to both feel bad and realize that he won't be able to go out and get postcards anymore. So he and Sprocket have a little chat. They reach an understanding, and Sprocket lets Gobo try to help him out. Gobo pushes him, but it's no use until Gobo remembers how slippery greaseberry leaves are, so he goes to the Gorg garden to see if he can find any more greaseberry leaves. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fraggles have been sleeping through most of these events, but Wembley wakes up and realizes that Gobo's been trying to tell him about the outer space monster. So they go up to the hole to see what's going on, and they find Sprocket, but not Gobo, and they jump to the conclusion that Sprocket has eaten Gobo, and they start to grieve and also punch Sprocket in the face. Meanwhile, again, up in the Gorg garden, Gobo's trying to steal more greaseberry leaves. But he ends up stuck in a trap. Ma Gorg finds him and he explains that he needs the greaseberry leaves to help Sprocket. Ma says she can't give him any because Gorgs need the leaves to make Gorg butter, and that she also is mad at the Fraggles for stealing their leaves. But eventually her maternal instincts kick in and she releases Gobo and gives him a big dollop of super slippery Gorg butter. Gobo comes back to the hole and reveals that he has not been eaten. He lubes up Sprocket and he pushes him out of the hole.
That's the worst way you could have said that sentence.
Well, it's exactly what
You're not
happened,
wrong.
okay? Meanwhile, up in outer space, the local historical society has recruited Doc to help them identify some mysterious relics found in a shipwreck. Doc tries on a ring and it gets stuck on his finger. He can't cut it off because it's like a priceless artifact, so he resigns himself to living the rest of his life with a big ring stuck to his hand until the very end when he pets a greased up Sprocket and the ring comes off of him. The moral: despite our differences, sometimes we all gotta just help each other out. Next up, March 12th, 1984, the Wizard of Fraggle Rock, a wandering magician slash flim-flam man called the Wizard, comes to visit Fraggle Rock. All the Fraggles love his tricks, but they all also know that he's the shiftiest Fraggle in the whole of Fraggle Rock. All of them, that is, except Wimbley. Wimbley has been feeling pretty unspecial lately, so when the wizard takes notice of him and offers to not only teach him some tricks, but to let Wimbley become the wizard, Wimbley is all for it. But this isn't just an act of charity on the part of the wizard. The wizard ran afoul of a monster called a poison cackler who's been trying to track him down, and when the wizard saw Wimbley in the crowd, he noticed that Wimbley looks exactly like him. Thus, the scheme to make Wimbley the new wizard was born. The wizard gives Wimbley his clothes, glues a beard on him, and sends him off to start his new life as the wizard, while the wizard puts on Wimbley's discarded Hawaiian shirt and becomes Wimbley. However, before too long, Wimbley overhears the wizard's assistants talking about the poison cackler situation, and Wimbley tries to get his old life back. The wizard refuses, and none of Wimbley's friends believe him because nobody trusts the wizard. Oh no! Eventually, the cackler shows up and corners Wimbley and the wizard. Wimbley throws one of the wizard's smoke bombs at the monster, hoping that they can escape. But the monster eats it, and it turns out that the poison cackler loves the taste of smoke bombs and was only chasing the wizard to get more. They tricked the cackler into falling off a cliff. He's fine, he doesn't die or anything. And Wimbley gets the beard off and convinces everybody that he is not the wizard. Up in outer space, Doc finds a trunk of magic tricks belonging to a relative of his, tries to do some magic tricks, and ends up tying himself up. The moral? I think it's like your basic the grass is always greener on the other side kind of situation, mixed with a bit of be careful who you trust. Next up, in chronological order, we watched a couple short clips, 2 from a special called Big Bird in Australia, which seems like it was more of a concert than a proper, like, Big Bird in ... movie.
Yeah, it was filmed during the 1984 Moomba Festival in Australia, which is a music festival that's held in Melbourne, Australia every year. And it's Australia's largest free community festival, apparently.
Okay.
So, yeah, this was held on a showboat in the Yarra River.
They're on a boat?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, I guess he mentions that to...
Mike Walsh, yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently, so they performed for an audience of 220,000 people on the city side of the river, and then the boat turned around and repeated the same performance for 80,000 people on the other side.
Okay, so they're on a boat, but the audiences aren't on a boat?
I guess. It was not immediately clear from the clips, because we got 2 very brief clips. But apparently, that I'm reading off Muppet Wiki here. It's also worth noting that when we're talking about chronological order here, this is actually when this was filmed is when we're talking about this, which is a little different from the way we normally do things. I think there was a mix-up on my scheduling part, but this was filmed on March 12th, 1984. It was not aired until, like, October 1984.
Oh, okay. Well, I forgive you.
Thank you.
So the first clip is Big Bird, and he's trying to get Shivers the penguin to stop being shy and say hello to the crowd. And the other clip is Oscar crashing the concert and trying to sabotage it with his nastiness. Then we watch another clip. Big Bird is still in Australia. He goes on the Mike Walsh Show, which is an Australian daytime variety show. He kind of just hangs out during the monologue and talks about how they do things just a little bit different in Australia. Then we watched a clip of the 1984 People's Choice Awards airing March 15th, 1984. Matt might have to explain exactly what's happening, but it seems like Fraggle Rock, Muppet Show, and Sesame Street are all nominated for the same award. I'm not sure how that is happening when the Muppet Show is not airing anymore.
Yeah, so that's a great question that I don't have the answer to, but I can confirm that is what's happening.
Okay.
So this is the very first year in the People's Choice Awards that they had a children's programming award. They never had that before, and this is the 10th year of the People's Choice Awards. The first 9 years, no children's programming award. So the first year they come out with it, I guess they're just like, fuck it, Muppet Show existed, I guess. But that was 3 years ago. Nothing else exists worth nominating, I guess. So let's nominate all 3 of these things because we can make a fun sketch out of it. Worth noting, Sesame Street wins it this year. Sesame Street wins it in 1985, and then they never give out that award again.
Oh, wow.
They stopped it again. So Sesame Street won it twice, and then they just stopped giving out that award.
They're like, Sesame Street will win in perpetuity, so we give up. So the Muppets from all the different shows are there. Of course, since they get no respect, all the Muppets have to sit in the kitchen, and we get a little scene of Bert, Ernie, Kermit, Fozzie, Sprocket, Uncle, Traveling Matt, and tons of other Muppets sitting around a table in the kitchen, kind of just like babbling aimlessly at each other. It's not really a sketch as much as it's just like Kermit saying, wow, we're here. Now, Cookie Monster saying, wow, we're here, and I would like a cookie, please.
Yeah, it felt a lot like we don't have time to write anything, so everyone
but it was
sit
so
around this
long.
table.
Why couldn't they have just said, here they are in the kitchen, and everybody could have gone, hello.
Yeah, just show a shot of them sitting in the kitchen. Ha 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 ha. There's the joke.
Very weird.
We didn't have room for them. Here they are.
Uh-huh. And then maybe the part with the Swedish chef helping to cook. That could have been like the little cutaway. And that would have been all you needed. Anyway, back to Fraggle Rock. The last Fraggle Rock we watched was the Doozer contest, which aired on March 19th, 1984. Flange and Modem Doozer have both been making some improvements to the Doozer stick recipe, Flange with the addition of tomato and Modem with a little mustard powder. This has made the sticks better to build with, and it makes them taste better to Fraggles. But after overhearing the Fraggles arguing about which addition is better, Flange and Modem also start arguing with each other about who should get the credit for the improved Doozer sticks. And in Doozer world, nothing is more taboo than wanting credit. Eventually, their argument boils over into a full-on duel as Flange throws down his helmet and demands Modem participate in a tower-building competition, Flange's tomato sticks versus Modem's mustard sticks. During the competition, the Fraggles show up, and they try out the 2 towers and decide that they both taste horrible. Instead of learning anything from this, Flange and Modem reformulate their sticks and have a rematch the next day. Wembley wanders by as they're having their rematch, and the Doozers demand that he choose which stick he likes better. Wembley naturally panics and ends up eating both a tomato and a mustard stick at the same time, and discovers that the sticks only taste good when they have both ingredients. Flange and Modem decide to work together, and the Doozer world knows peace once again. Meanwhile, up in outer space, Sprocket is jealous of the new neighborhood dog and trains to beat the shit out of him, but the new dog gifts Sprocket with a bone and they become pals instead. The moral? Teamwork makes the dream work, and also don't have duels, please. And really not too much stuff happened in this period of time. The Run DMC's first self-titled album comes out, and also the movie Police Academy.
2 equally culturally significant pieces of media.
Oh, Splash also came out. That's a nice. That's
3
movie,
equally important pieces of media.
Okay, how about this one? How about Romancing the Stone?
All right, well, that one's all right, I guess.
You're just showing your personal bias now.
Well, okay, so you let off with the
and this is Spinal Tap. That one's pretty important, right?
That one's, I think, yeah, especially now that it looks like Muppets Mayhem is taking a page out of at least referencing this is Spinal Tap. So
are they going to be in it, Spinal Tap?
Oh, not that I know of, but that would be pretty great.
That would make sense. Don't they have to show up? I think they have the Dick Tracy thing where they have to show up. Like, they have to do a Spinal Tap every few years, like a song or something, so that they can keep the rights to it. I'm pretty sure that's real. So this would be a great excuse to do that.
That makes sense for a lot of the things they have done in recent years.
Yeah.
Where they'll just randomly show up somewhere. But yeah, in the trailer for the Muppets Mayhem, we see, I believe, Janice turn up her amp to 11.5, thus outdoing...
Suck at Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Well, in the world of the Muppets, there were a few other things happening that we could not watch. On March 4th, 1984... there was the Royal Variety performance, something we've watched them do before. Obviously, it's a thing that happens, I think, every year for the Royals. This one, though, is the 1984 Children's Royal Variety performance.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one took place at Her Majesty's Theatre in London. And I don't think we missed a ton, it seems like. I didn't see a big description of this one, but basically Fulton McKay, who played the captain on the British version of Fraggle Rock, their doc, was there with Sprocket and some other Muppet performers, it says. So I don't know if the other Muppet performers were just doing Sprocket stuff or if there was Fraggles there or what. This was the whole description I got of it, was just Captain and Sprocket were there.
The People's Choice Award thing leads me to believe that they're pretty careful about letting other Fraggles be and stuff.
Yeah, which, I mean, to this day, they're still kind of careful with the way Fraggles interact with the real world.
Right.
Then on March 5th, 1984, a bit of a confusing one as far as my research side of things goes. Jim wrote in his journal, Stars Salute Olympics airs. Now, there's no info underneath that in his journal. It's just that. There is an Olympic gala that happens later in July of 1984. And when I was researching that, I found a clip of Kermit doing like a running with the torch kind of sketch thing. Now, if you look up Stars Salute Olympics and Muppets, you'll find that Olympic gala stuff. And so the two sort of meld together into what is happening. And so we will watch that clip in our catch-up episode as part of like our summer episodes. But I don't know if it's from now or if it's from then. I think it's from July, but it could be from both. I don't really know. Kind of confusing. If anyone has any more info about the Stars Salute Olympics versus the Olympic Gala thing, please let us know on Twitter or something, because I was not able to find enough information about either of them to really understand what was going on here. Then on March 7th, 1984, Jim wrote in his journal, Tea at Yale, presumably visiting his daughter Cheryl, who was attending Yale at the time.
Right.
Then on March 10th, 1984, Jim wrote, Concept Muppet Babies.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's no more information about this in his journal, but at this point, the Muppet Babies had already been filmed for The Muppets Take Manhattan, which hadn't come out yet, but they had already filmed that, and they had already put the Muppet Babies designs on some merchandise in the comic strip, a few places that they were already sort of popping up. This seems to be a concept meeting he had because he was approached by executives from Marvel Productions, the animation wing of Marvel Comics, and CBS Television about developing an animated Muppet Babies series. So this was when Jim was basically like open to the idea, and so he brought in Michael Frith and several others for an all-day concept meeting where they basically met to talk about what would a Muppet Babies animated series be.
And then they made it in 6 months?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Right? It seems like one of those things that with like The Simpsons, how it takes like a year and a half to get an episode made.
Yeah.
No, apparently within 6 months they were airing Muppet Babies somehow.
Oh, that seems like somebody was working a little too hard, probably.
I mean, you gotta... yes, absolutely. Probably there was a grind mentality there. But you also have to think about, like, to them, looking at the money part of this, they go, okay, so we have these adorable Muppet puppets that are coming out in the summer of 1984. If we can put a cartoon on the air like 2 months later, all the money. Thank you.
And they were right.
Yeah, good job, guys. Sorry to the underpaid, presumably, workers who had to crank that out in 6 months. Then on March 17th, 1984, Jim wrote, Kermit gives speech in Atlanta. So this was for the National Wildlife Federation, which we've talked about a few times because we've watched some of their PSAs. This was when Kermit was made an honorary chairman for National Wildlife Week. Jay Hare, who was the National Wildlife Federation executive vice president, said, Kermit is the perfect chairman for 1984 water conservation theme. He is immensely popular with millions of people of all ages, and besides that, who knows more about the importance of clean water than a frog?
Well, what more needs to be said?
Yeah.
He's right.
And apparently for this speech that Kermit gave, Michael Frith wrote the speech, and Kermit spoke about his early Washington years when he was struggling to breathe in the polluted Potomac River.
What?
Yeah.
Michael Frith wrote that, huh?
Yeah. Seems like Michael Frith was just being handed a lot of random shit at this point to be like, hey, draw that. Hey, what if you wrote a speech? Hey, want to do this?
I guess so. Wonder what the company structure at Henson was like.
Seems like maybe just a blob.
Yeah.
Foz Fazakis just like in the basement of a building, building everything for them. Brian Henson going to college, not going to college, helping out on set, whatever he was doing. It just seems like randomly that's just like, hello, I need your time right now, so come work for us. Michael Frith, if you want to, come on the podcast someday and tell us how that worked. Open invitation. Well, then getting into what we watched this week, Sam, I gotta say up top, what a great batch of Fraggle Rock.
It really was. There's very little to complain about with any of these.
Yeah, and 2 of the episodes in this batch are written by friend of the podcast, Sujith Varghese.
Oh, wait, what's the other one? The first one. And?
The Doozer one.
The Doozer one was too? That's the only one I
Yeah.
forgot to look at who wrote it. So
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I wrote in my notes at one point, good job, Sujith. Because there were some very good lines in the Doozer episode where I was like, I'm loving this. And we have talked to the man who wrote those words.
That Doozer episode kicked ass.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. That's the last thing on our list. So first, let's start off with February 27th, 1984, Sir Hubris and the Gorgs, written by Sujith Varghese and directed by George Bloomfield. As Muppet Wiki points out, this episode clarifies a little bit that Doc and the Gorgs do not live in the same world.
That's what I wrote too, because it ain't raining in Gorg world.
Right. There's some sort of magic, the way you get from, if you had to transport from Doc's workshop through Fraggle Rock and into Gorg world, there's some magical portal world happening in the middle there.
I think somewhere along the way, gravity reverses and you're standing
Right,
on the
yes, the
opposite
Hollow
side
Earth.
of the Hollow Earth.
Yes,
You're
of
standing on
course.
the opposite side of the planet.
We did see the Twisty Cave in the one episode.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
that is an example of this portal world, this reversing gravity part of the Hollow Earth theory you've got going on here. I mean, I feel like the Hollow Earth theory of Fraggle Rock makes as much sense as anything else in Fraggle Rock, so
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah, I think you just have to assume it's right until we're proven wrong.
Until Michael Frith comes on the podcast and tells us we're wrong.
Where do the Gorgs live, Michael? Tell us.
I think you've been retired for quite a while, so maybe you can just enjoy your retirement too. You don't have to come yell at us about Fraggles, but
Be like that in Batman when he's like, swear to me. He'd be like, I don't know where the Gorgs live, I swear. Swear to Matt. Yeah, tell me.
just yelling at this man for a show he made 40 years ago.
Yeah. We didn't give a shit where the Gorgs live. I swear, I swear.
Say the words Hollow Earth. Well, as Sam said, it is raining in Doc's workshop. Doc rudely solves this problem with Sprocket's food dish, placing it right on his head to catch the rain. But down in the Fraggle Rock, Gobo is setting out on a one Fraggle exploration, and I love that every time something like this is mentioned, Wembley immediately says, "Can I come?"
He should let him.
It's a one Fraggle exploration, Sam.
It's dangerous to do that kind of thing by yourself, though. Don't you think?
I mean,
Or is it more dangerous to have Wembley with you?
if you're gonna have, it's like, I don't think in general it is more dangerous. But if you have to have only one other person with you and it is Wembley, that might not be the best option.
Yeah. He tends to wander off. That's like all he does is just wander off.
Yeah, in one of these episodes, he just has a yo-yo that he's distracted by for most of it and then loses it.
So he can later wander off.
Yeah, which he does solve the problem in that one
Yeah.
by accident.
He solves the problem in the one we watched a couple weeks ago where he wanders off and finds the cave that they're looking for, you know?
That's true.
So he's the best at wandering off.
So you don't want to necessarily assign a task to him, but
Yeah.
you can maybe hope that he'll accidentally help you.
Yeah, he's got a preternatural ability to solve problems that he doesn't know exist.
Yes. Well, this episode largely is centered around the Gorgs, who are still talking with their forsooths and methinks, which we previously had talked about maybe wouldn't be our favorite new trait of the Gorgs. I didn't mind it so much in this one.
Didn't bother me. It feels like, you know how in the first episode of Game of Thrones there's so much nudity and sex?
Yeah.
And then in every other episode it's like, hey, where is all the nudity and sex? That's like in the first Gorg when they're talking like that, they had to be like, this is how the Gorgs talk. Check it out. Isn't that cool? And then after that, they were like, okay, we'll scale it back a little bit.
There are a few shows like that. I feel like that like the first episode, obviously the pilot has to introduce the idea of the show. And so they set you up of like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of nudity and gore in Game of Thrones. So get ready. And it's like, well, kind of started out.
Actually, one episode
real
every
strong.
season has nudity and gore in it.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think Mad Men is similar in like the first episode of Mad Men is like the most overly misogynistic episode
Yeah.
of the entire series. Not that that goes away. Like, that is there throughout the series. But the
Right.
first episode, like, every man in the episode is just saying the most toxic shit the entire time. And you're just like,
Yeah.
this show seems like it's not going to be fun.
It's before you learn that they're all completely broken inside. though.
Yeah. Well, and that they're not the heroes of the show necessarily.
Right.
Well, getting away from Mad Men before we spend the rest of the podcast talking about Mad Men, there is the point in this episode where you're afraid or excited that Junior might be about to get the talk.
And Junior's pumped.
Yeah, we see Ma Gorg knitting. Pa is nicely holding her yarn on his hands. And they talk about how Junior's growing up and how it's time for him to learn, you know, the way of the Gorgs.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, Junior is disappointed because Pa's like, son, you're old enough to get the talk. And he's like, oh, yeah, Pa?
Oh,
And he's
hell
like, yep, time for you to talk about how to rule the universe. He's like, oh, well, that talk.
It's like the most adult joke they've ever done on the show by a long shot, I feel like.
Yeah, this is like we talked previously about how there was a slight reference where it sounded like Pa Gorg was like, hey, Ma, it's time to have sex. But that was not
Yeah.
very direct. Whereas
Right.
this is straight up referencing giving Junior the sex talk.
Yeah.
There is no other interpretation of this.
This is like a Shrek joke, kind of.
Then we go back to Fraggle Rock and Gobo is singing Only Way Home, a song where he seems so happy that I was sure something terrible was about to happen to him.
Yeah. You're right. In
He's just singing about
retrospect, it
how
doesn't
great
look
everything is and how great it is to be an explorer and life's amazing and all this stuff. And I was like, is he about to get like a boulder falling on his head or something?
bad. I was just so taken with that monster with that beautiful voice.
That's
that I didn't think
Aretha.
about. It is?
Yeah, it's Aretha who is here singing with Gobo.
Oh, it's not actually Aretha.
No, it is not. It is named after Aretha Franklin. I
okay.
did not mean to mislead you.
I was so excited for a second.
No, it is just Aretha the Muppet.
Okay.
Here singing with Gobo. And Aretha the puppet will show up again and again in the Muppet Christmas Carol. She is one of the like
Ah.
townspeople singing about
Yeah.
Scrooge. She'll also pop up in Muppet Treasure Island,
Weird.
the Muppets Wizard of Oz, and a bunch of
What?
other stuff.
Is she the only, like one of the very few to make that leap?
From Fraggle?
Because there's been Muppets that went to Fraggle.
Well, there
A couple.
So
but-
some, I believe, of the minstrels and some of those other cave creatures
Right.
will also pop
Or in
up.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
A lot of them
yeah.
in Muppet Christmas Carol are just like townsfolk, and I
Yeah,
think the same
yeah.
thing happens in Muppet Treasure Island. But I haven't
Whoa.
watched the entirety of that movie in a very long time.
But no Fraggles. Fraggles are sacred.
Yeah, I think Fraggles are too specific of a shape to be tossed into a background.
Right. Maybe maybe there's like legal problems with that or something. Too?
Nowadays, definitely.
Yeah.
But
I guess not. during
back
the
then
Muppet
there
Christmas
wouldn't have
Carol
been.
days. Yeah, right.
But I think it's also one of those things of like because of what they look like. If you just saw a Fraggle in Muppet Christmas Carol, you'd be like, "Why is there a Fraggle in
fuck?
Muppet Christmas Carol?"
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing bad really kind of like happens to Gobo. You at first think he's about to be in a situation like Boober and Red were, because his cave that he's walking through starts to collapse a little bit as he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. But really, it just kind of sort of collapses. He's not
Yeah.
trapped in any way, and he finds that the tunnel leads to the Gorg Castle, where Junior Gorg has been jumping up and down, and that's what caused his cave to collapse. But this is when we're told the story of Sir Hubris, who ruled the world before time began, who was not a Gorg. He was half the height of a Gorg, so about 11 feet tall.
So yeah, like taller than a human.
Yeah, which is,
Because I kept like expecting it to be like maybe there'd be like a picture of it look like Doc or something, you know?
yeah, it introduces a fourth species to
Right.
this world that lives in the world between Fraggle and Gorg, is this
Yeah.
super skinny 11-foot tall person.
Who rules the universe?
Yeah.
Unquestionably, like the Gorgs are bigger, but they do not question his right to rule the universe.
No, the whole idea here is that whenever Sir Hubris returns, the crown must be returned to him, and the reign of the Gorgs will be over, and they must pack up and wander the universe forever.
Yeah.
Because Sir Hubris decided to go explore one day. I also thought it was going to be leading to the fact that Uncle Traveling Matt was somehow Sir Hubris.
Right,
Or
or
like-
like he was a frag, like he was really a bunch of Fraggles all stacked up on each other.
But for now, at least, that's not the case. I don't know if we ever learn differently. The one thing I will say about this batch that is, if I'm going to nitpick and find anything negative, there was some scenes, like the next one I'm about to bring up here, that were just extremely brief transitional moments that went nowhere or did nothing other than saying, hey, let's move on to this segment of the show that I felt like could have been handled a little better or could have just been maybe drawn out or something like meatier could have happened in those sections.
Yes.
Where I'm like, okay, we have this huge Gorg scene and then we need to get to Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard. What do? We have like one sentence between Gobo and Wembley.
I mean, I feel like you said it could be meatier, but I feel almost like there was a couple moments in these episodes where it felt a little padded out, or like some of the scenes went on a little bit longer than I felt like they needed to.
So maybe it's more like a, prioritization of time, like switching, like shortening some of those scenes up and extending the transitional ones, because this one is just basically Gobo telling Wembley that he found the other secret tunnel into the Gorg castle, but somehow this makes him think of Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard.
What doesn't really?
Yeah, to be fair, that's sort of an easy fallback for Gobo is like, yeah, I got this. Let's see if it makes any sense.
Conversation. Yeah, this is awkward.
To be fair, it seems that Gobo's idea did spring up from he had previously read Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard about the silly creatures in the world disguising themselves because they are the ugliest creatures in the universe. So apparently sometimes these ugly, silly creatures have to disguise themselves. That means it's Halloween. And Uncle Traveling Matt is out watching trick-or-treaters, one of which is dressed like Kermit, and one is dressed like Miss Piggy.
Oh, I didn't notice the Miss Piggy one.
Miss Piggy's a little bit more casual in the costume. It seems to be a kid who was dressed as Miss Piggy and then got cold and so is wearing a coat.
Well, it's Canada, so
yeah.
I had to wear coats here every Halloween.
That was the worst. When you're like out trick-or-treating, you're like, I'm Darth Vader with a Green Bay Packer coat on.
Big puffy coat on.
But yes, so that is another little Jim Henson reference slipped into the world of the Uncle Traveling Matt. But this gives Gobo the idea to disguise himself as Sir Hubris to get those nasty Gorgs gone forever.
Great plan. So you'd think
so, right? I'm on board so far.
Yeah.
Briefly back in the world of Doc and Sprocket, this is when Doc decides to go on the roof and fix the leak himself in the middle of a lightning storm. And Sprocket is rightfully worried about him.
For his buddy.
Because Doc's either going to slip and fall off the roof or get struck by lightning and die. But for now, we see the Fraggles practicing their Sir Hubris impression, which is Red standing on Boober's shoulders, Wembley standing on Red's shoulders, Moki's about to get on Wembley's shoulders, but then the entire stack of Fraggles all falls down. And this is the moment I wrote, we don't talk enough about the puppetry in this show.
Yeah, it's so freaking good.
We talked about it, I think, a lot during the Muppet Show, because I think there was more things that sort of stood out from the rest.
I feel like we talk about it a lot. I think
not enough, Sam.
Okay.
It's so good. It needs to be
really
every other thought we have is good puppets, guys.
There are certainly no moments here when Jim's head pops up and you can see.
Not that I've noticed, yeah.
Or whatever.
But yeah, there's just so many inventive ways that they use the puppets in this show that it seems
like when they turn Wembley upside down.
Yeah.
Later, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I think like this is one where it's, okay, you have this idea to stack 5 Fraggles on top of each other. You're going to have to cut like 5 holes in this cave wall so that each of your puppeteers can be on top of each other somehow behind that wall, controlling them. And it just seemed like Fraggle Rock, they were really determined to like let no good idea go by the wayside. It was like, if you have a good idea, we're going to try and make it exist.
Or like the Doozer episode, the whole time I was just thinking, this must have sucked. This must have been so annoying, but it looks so good.
Yeah. I think that's the crux of working on a Fraggle Rock. Seems like this would have sucked probably to make. A lot of fun, but it probably did suck. But it all turns out looking amazing.
It looks like a cartoon. Like it looks so fully realized. Like it could just be an animated series.
Yeah, like, on the Muppet Show, we, of course, did see the bottom half of Muppets from time to time, but not that often. Like, 90% of the time we're watching the Muppet Show, you're only seeing the top half of Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
But on Fraggle Rock, almost every episode, there are like full-body Fraggles doing stuff.
They're on display.
Well, they finally figure out how to stack each other on top of each other, and they get the hooded cloak thrown over them in the skinniest looking creature that ever did exist. And this is when the Gorgs realize they have to leave. And, Pa Gorg has a salt the earth approach to
He
this.
really does.
He respects.
I don't know what his fucking problem is.
Well, so I love though that he respects the idea that they have to give up their home. Like
Yeah.
he's like, okay, the legend says Sir Hubris shows up. I have to give him my crown, and we gotta go. But before we do, I am gonna ruin his shit.
Dump this garbage into the well. What's he gonna drink? I guess Pa's just like, fuck you.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think he cares because they want to take all the radishes and all the seeds. Junior is also in on this plan, by the way. He wants to bring his garden
Junior's
with him.
too sad to leave any of his garden. Like, he's too sad to leave his vegetables.
Right. He just wants to take everything because he still wants to garden wherever they end up. Which, if they're going to wander the earth forever, it's not conducive to gardening. Sorry, Junior. You have some mobile garden you're going to have to bring with you.
You could put some dirt in a wheelbarrow and grow a couple things.
Yeah.
I bet.
A couple radishes at a time. Probably not enough to keep your face lotion that
Head
keeps you
from
from turning
disappearing.
turning invisible.
You're going to be walking around with no head, but, you know.
But yeah, Pa's plan is, as Sam said earlier, to destroy the well, because not only does he not want food to grow there, he also wants them to not have fresh water. And so he's going to dump trash into the well and then seal it with cement.
Insane plan.
I mean, yeah, but if you want to ruin a well, put some trash
That's a great
down
way
it.
to do it.
And then also
Yeah.
seal it up so they can't even use it if they wanted to. And so, yeah, Pa Gorg's plan is pretty much just ruin the Fraggles' entire lives.
Yeah.
Dump trash into their
Just kill
pond,
them,
seal up their
basically,
well, which I guess now that they have another tunnel out wouldn't be the biggest problem to get anything. But they don't have radishes
For
to
food.
get.
They wouldn't have
Yes,
food,
they have to
yeah,
find another food
right.
source, which, tomatoes are apparently somewhere in this universe.
Yeah.
Don't know how they get them. Then we get a lovely little moment where Wembley and Moki are massaging Boober's sore legs because Boober's
Ooh,
legs are
really
sore from
weird.
being the base of the Sir Hubris. And Gobo tells them that he has to undo his plan, that their plan worked too well.
I'm glad that he is not too proud to realize that they will starve to death or anything like that.
I could see that happening. Now that you say that, I could definitely see a version of this episode where he is like, well, my plan
We'll
worked,
figure
so
it out."
clearly it was the right
Yeah.
plan. I don't know what you guys are talking about. But we cut to the Gorgs who are singing a sad Gorg song called Doom De Doom. It seems like a sad version of the Dum De Dum.
Of the same song we've heard a million times before. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gorgs have one song. It's Dum De Dum or Doom De Doom. And yeah, Gobo, they get dressed back up as Sir Hubris. Gobo, being the voice of Sir Hubris, tries to tell them, I was just passing through. You can stay. But the Gorgs are determined to leave
No. Yeah.
until the Fraggles reveal themselves, throwing open their cloak and yelling, "Fooled you!"
And this is great too. Even though those little Fraggles kind of look not so good, they might want to take another pass at them.
I think they made them again for season 2, and I think they made them worse.
Yeah, that's what they look. Especially tiny Gobo when he's
Yep.
talking to Ma. He looks so weird.
Yeah, I have the same note in the next episode where I think somehow they ruined the tiny Fraggles.
Yeah.
But to wrap up this episode, the Gorgs do obviously, I guess, decide to stay. We don't really see that moment, but guessing because it revealed it was not really Sir Hubris, all is solved. And thankfully, back in the world of Doc and Sprocket woke up Ned Schimmelfinny, and he came over and freed Doc from the roof.
Ned's a MVP in these episodes.
Yeah,
He's saving Doc a lot.
Ned Schimmelfinny's going to move away at some point, and then Doc and Sprocket are both just going to
They're gonna
die.
die. Yeah.
Because, yeah, he has
Doc's
become the
I guess
most...
we're tied up on the floor and we'll starve to death. I don't know.
Which I did notice there's not an inherent disdain from Doc towards Ned Schimmelfinny in this batch either. It seems like he's maybe coming around on Schimmelfinny.
Yeah, we still get Sprocket still goes bleh when
Yeah.
he says Ned Schimmelfinny once, but
But that's also
But they're-
partially
they're
because
brothers, yeah.
he's giving bones to another dog.
that's true.
So it seems like maybe Ned and Sprocket.
loves Ned. Yeah.
Right. So I think Ned Schimmelfinny might be... I think Doc would say Ned Schimmelfinny is his best friend. And I think Ned Schimmelfinny would say, that
say
guy
that.
Doc I live next door to.
My next door neighbor who always needs me to free him from various conundrums he finds himself in. I also like when they're when the Fraggles are walking away at the end and Wembley's like, what's going to happen when the real Sir Hubris shows up? Very foreboding.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. You're going to die, I guess.
I mean, I love the idea though that like it sets it up that it could happen in a future episode. That like we could see the moment where Sir Hubris shows up and maybe the Gorgs and the Fraggles have to team up to like work together to stop Sir Hubris in some way.
Or Sir Hubris would just be like, no, don't dump all that trash down my well. He'd just be there the whole time and not leave like the Fraggles did. He'd be like, I kind of need that well, guys.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I don't believe we ever see or hear about Sir Hubris ever again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really interesting how, like, we've talked about this before, where, like, Fraggle Rock will introduce the craziest concept of, like, a creature or whatever. They'll mention it, and it ends up being real in that episode. And you're like, oh, didn't think that thing was going to be real. But then they never use it again.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, I think I maybe even said this last episode, but like the Fraggle lore is wide but not deep of just like how
the Gorg
many
lore,
things.
I think especially is even more like they will bring up all kinds of stuff, like their heads disappearing.
Yeah,
but it's like I'm not even sure if that's canon anymore that their heads will disappear.
Yeah. Well, I said in my notes overall, I loved that episode. I loved the lore. I loved the backstory of the Gorgs, filling out some more of that maybe unnecessary canon, but I love it.
Is that your rating?
That's my rating.
I love it. I give it a 3 because it left me wanting more in a way that's like, I just have a lot of questions.
All right. Well,
I need to know more about this Sir Hubris.
Sorry to report that I don't think we're ever going to answer those questions for you. But we might add additional lore that is also confusing.
That's what my fanfic is for. Sexy Sir Hubris.
Why?
I
guess
so people will read it and give me thumbs up on a archive of our own.
He could be naked under that cloak. Who knows?
He's definitely is. That never even was a question in my head.
But what? I guess we don't know what species or what like Sir Hubris is.
Okay, when I close my eyes and picture him, though, you know what he looks like? The gray aliens from South Park.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, he looks specifically like those gray aliens.
What if Sir Hubris is an alien?
That would be cool.
And like they built the pyramids, they built the Gorg castle.
Not as impressive a feat, but it looks like shit.
He was having an off day.
Yeah, he was sick.
Then on March 5th, 1984, we had the episode A Friend in Need, written by Laura Phillips and directed by Jim Henson. Heard of him?
Speaking of an insane lore dump, this one has a fucking crazy one right at the beginning.
Yeah. Not any clearer than Sir Hubris.
No.
Doc gets some objects from a shipwreck at the bottom of, quote, our bay. So clearly
interesting.
They live near some
They
water.
live on a bay. That really narrows it down. We're like that guy on TikTok who's like finding the place where people live.
Like geotagger guesser or whatever that game is.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we got a bay and a workshop. Let's go.
A bay. Yeah.
But yeah, so the stuff that he got from a shipwreck is a sign from the ship called La Gorgola. Seemingly would be a reference to Gorgs.
Yep.
Also translates to the gargoyle in Spanish.
Ah, well, okay.
So it couldn't, I guess, it's a Gorg reference.
Room.
But there is wiggle room for it to not be. But what isn't, there is no wiggle room. He finds a ring seemingly made of brass, but also made of a Doozer helmet.
Yeah. It's like a bronze Doozer helmet on a ring.
Yeah, which immediately gets stuck on his finger.
Yeah.
But whose ship was this that has Doozer stuff and references Gorgs?
And the ring's too small to fit on a Gorg finger. Maybe it was Sir Hubris' ship.
Oh, I like that idea.
Okay.
But so Sir Hubris would have known about the Doozers then as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he conquered them.
Could be. Maybe he's dead, though, because he died in the shipwreck, you know?
Maybe he's Sauron.
Oh. I don't think of him as evil. When I'm picturing him, I don't think of him as evil.
I don't think of him as evil, but I think maybe he is one of those guys who, like, we talk about in the lore as being a positive, but when he actually shows up, it's like, he's awful.
This is bad.
He
destroying our
wiped
way of
out a
life.
whole generation of Doozers,
Yeah.
like with his powerful ring made from their heads. But thankfully, down in Fraggle Rock, it is greaseberry season, and they are using the greasy leaves to slide around the Great Hall. Much like sledding, they're dressed in sort of winter wear while they're doing this, and Gobo is going to attempt the ultimate slide from the garden to the Great Hall, surfing, skateboarding Gobo. Bart Simpson's his way down to the Great Hall, jumping over the...
It's very Bart Simpson.
Yeah, slap that dude on a t-shirt, say don't have a cow, you gotta hit. But he jumps over the curious chasm and does a barrel roll through the twisted cave. Wembley is chasing him during all of this and somehow catches up extremely fast after he's done.
Maybe it just wasn't very far. Maybe it's like not that impressive.
There's a chasm.
Yeah, but to us, that chasm would be like a nothing. You know,
Yeah,
a
I
little
guess.
chasm.
That's
I
true.
suppose.
And this feat is what turns Gobo into the cockiest version of Gobo we have
He's immediately
ever
up his
seen.
own ass. Yeah, he's like strutting around. Horrible.
He sings a song called I Knew I Was Good, which is pretty much
Yeah.
I knew I was good, but I didn't know I was this good.
Oh, baby. Yeah, he's feeling himself for sure.
He literally sings the line, when you've got the goods, you know you can't do anything wrong. And I wrote my notes, uh-oh. Like, that's not a healthy mentality for anyone to have.
Nothing that particularly bad happens to him though.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Something bad could have happened, I guess, if he had stayed in his cocky, asshole-ish behavior, but he decides
That's
to be a
true.
good person
That's true. You're right.
in this because he is so brave that he's talking about how he's going to go to outer space at night, which Wembley is talking about how scary that is, and Gobo laughs that away. And this is when, as Sam said earlier, he says hi to Sprocket, and they roll the ball after him. Sprocket rolls it back. Now they're friends. But Sprocket gets stuck in the hole.
I feel like Sprocket thinks they're friends and Gobo doesn't think they're friends.
I think by
Because
the
Gobo's just like, meh.
end of the
ball is
episode,
boring.
Gobo's more on board with this relationship
For sure.
advancing.
Yeah.
But Sprocket, seemingly in the past, has wanted to eat a Fraggle or two, I'd say.
Yeah.
At this point, though, it does seem like, oh, you'll throw the ball for me? New best friend. But Doc comes back and says one of my favorite phrases, Schimmelfinny took me to a jeweler. And reveals that the jeweler wanted to cut the ring off, but he wouldn't let her.
The way that they got rid of Doc in this episode is so funny because he's so stupid.
Yeah, because his idea now is to go to the emergency room at the hospital.
Hospital.
As if they're going to do anything else other than want to also cut the ring off. Gobo is rightly worried about Sprocket starving, so he goes to get him some food. And obviously, Fraggles know Doozer sticks, and so he brings in some Doozer sticks to eat, and Sprocket hates them.
Them are made of vegetables. Dog ain't eat a vegetable.
He ate seaweed pie.
Oh, he loved it too. I forgot about
Sprocket eats so much shit that I'm really
That's
surprised he
true.
didn't like Doozer sticks. I also, during this batch of episodes, I did not actually look this up yet, but I want to know if somebody has made like a recipe for like making your own hard candy Doozer sticks at home. And if they incorporated radish dust, like dehydrated radishes in some way, because I feel like that's, to be accurate, to make a good Doozer stick, you're going to have to incorporate some radishes. So
Yeah.
if somebody hasn't
maybe-
yet, somebody please do that.
Maybe if the show had been more popular, there would have been like I guess the show was popular, but if it had been like truly a cultural phenomenon, maybe there would have been like Doozer stick snacks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There would have been like those French fries that are made out of other vegetables. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
The green
Yeah,
stick.
yeah.
The yellow stick.
Yeah.
They have to figure out how to make them clear. Maybe they just be white. You have to pretend they were clear.
I feel like making them white would just immediately look unappetizing. Well, I am sure many, many people have attempted this before us because
What color is a potato chip to you?
yellow?
Very pale yellow.
Yeah. I am looking
Verging on white.
I am looking at an article right now on Tough Pigs by Beth Cook from just 2022 about how to make some real, I will quote this exactly, how to make kinda real, sorta edible Doozer sticks.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but there is radish chips involved. So congrats to Beth Cook on incorporating this thing already. But there's also, Muppet Central Forum, people talking about recipes in 2004. So obviously people have been talking about this idea for a very long time. Gobo then decides, hey, how do I solve any other situation? What if I write a postcard? So he reads Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard about when he was exploring a cave and found a small cavern, which was a janitor's closet. And he gets stuck in the janitor's closet because a mop falls over and locks the door.
It's a really low moment for him. I feel like we're seeing him as his worst, basically.
It's also odd because basically the only thing that happens is Uncle Traveling Matt gets locked in, freaks out, doesn't know how to open the door, and then goes, oh, right, I know what locks are.
I do remember how to open doors.
Yeah, and he just unlocks the door and leaves. So not the most helpful, but it does relate, at least, to the current predicament.
Yeah.
Gobo's solution, though, is to just push on Sprocket's face a little bit.
It's really cute. They're so freaking cute when they're being friends with each other.
Yeah, no, Sprocket is very, very well puppeteered in this moment, especially, too, because obviously you've got, like, a limited movement here going on, but you're getting a lot of personality from Sprocket
Yeah.
through that little bit of movement.
He seems like the most real dog that he's ever seemed, you know?
Yeah, I think especially showing his emotions of like a little bit of the fear when he gets stuck in there. Like he genuinely seems like very sad. But the pushing on the face does not work. And so Gobo is going to get some greaseberry leaves to grease up Sprocket. And he keeps bragging about how brave and courageous he is.
Yeah, he starts being an asshole again here.
Yeah, he's like, wow, I'm really going to save the day here and get some grease and grease up this dog. This is, sorry, I just flashed back to when we were talking about the Doozers saying, I forgot to wax the dog. And now I'm like,
Think about it.
there's too much tied up into
He
that
is
one
waxing
line.
a dog, though, isn't
He's
he?
kind of waxing a dog,
What the
but
fuck?
also it just made me think of like, do Doozers have like a actual dog somehow?
Oh, a big dog.
Yeah, not a Doozer dog, like a Sprocket-sized dog.
Wax. And he's their car, and that's why they have to wax him.
Part of me is like Mandela affecting myself, thinking that line wasn't even in the episode. But
It doesn't sound real to me.
But I
and
can't
don't
imagine I would have
remember
made
them
that up.
saying it.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
You have been sick.
Maybe it was a COVID fever dream. It was like, yeah. Well, I'll go back and check to see if it was real. But I swear she says I forgot to wax the
for
dog.
your sake it was real.
So I just pulled up subslikescript.com, which is apparently a website where people just post scripts for things. They have some Fraggle Rock episodes on there, and in the scene when they're getting ready for Cotterpin's helmet ceremony, they're like, Granny Cantilever, yes? Why don't you stand over there? Ah, there. Cotterpin will be here any minute. Oh no, I forgot to wax the dog.
Oh no, I'm looking at the script as well. It says transcribed by Matt Gatos.
It does not. Maybe I typed that out in a fever dream as well.
Yeah. Well, that's weird. We got to write an email to the person who wrote that episode.
Yeah, who wrote that one?
Jerry. It was Jerry, I think.
Well, shit. It was, which...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well,
that's...
we're not going to ever know then.
And Jim Henson's the one who directed it, so...
Shit.
Yep.
Well, folks, if you know anything about this, if you ever talk to Jerry Jewell about this jokes for some reason.
Okay, well, Karen Prell, still alive,
Yeah.
is the one who performed Wingnut Doozer. So maybe there's a chance Karen Prell
I know she would say, I don't
knows.
know, I don't know
Oh,
what the fuck she's
absolutely.
talking about.
I just like see Karen Prell at a Comic-Con and be like, what does I forgot to wax the dog mean? And she's like, get him away from me.
I mean, I feel like even if you played her the clip, she'd be like, I actually have no idea.
Yeah, she'd be like,
That's
is
really weird.
Yeah, well, if anyone out there has any idea what the Wax the Dog line is about, please write in. It's keeping me up
man,
at
I
night.
pulled up the Muppet Wiki on my own. It says episode written by Matt Gatos.
No.
What?
Well, in the middle of Gobo bragging about how smart and brave he is, crossing across the Gorg garden, of course he gets caught in a Gorg Fraggle trap on his way to the Greaseberry Leaves. This is when we get to see the weird Gobo, by the
He
way.
starts looking weird. He kind of looks like a piece of concept art of the Fraggles where they're a little bit more beaky. Because he's kind of got like a pointy beak.
I also
going
feel like
on.
he's got a little bit like too much of like an action figure body. Like he's a little too tall and a little too skinny. And
Right.
like if they were forced to, it's sort of like, you know, people had an issue with those new reaction figures of the Electric Mayhem because their proportions are a little off. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we have one mold for a body, so we have to do this kind of thing. And so it just feels like Gobo is a little differently shaped than Puppet Gobo.
He kind of looks like cool teen Gobo.
Yeah. A little bit just grown up, would pick on young Gobo.
Yeah.
But this is when we get to see Wembley get turned upside down because Wembley's trying to piece together what is going on and tell the other Fraggles how they can help, but he cannot form his words. And so they go, hey, how did we fix this the last time he did this?
I like this.
Yeah.
This was giving me Friends vibes. I felt like this was something they do with Joey. You know?
I was going to say,
they turn
he's
him
the
upside
Joey.
down and be like, Joey, come on. It's like when all the dumb friends are the ones who are like trying to solve the problem. Those are some of the best episodes when it's like Rachel and Joey and they're like, oh gosh, what do we do? Then they have to turn each other upside down.
I feel like there is something that happens like this in, I think, Boy Meets World, where like so there's an episode where Eric, later season, gets like somewhat psychic powers. And he like remembers like he gets some like lottery numbers, but he only gets like 3 of them. And so to get the rest of them, his friend Jack takes his head and pounds it off of a dumpster. And it's like, he's like, 4, 22, da-da-da. Like every time he
That
pounds
sounds
his head on
pretty
the dumpster, he yells out another number.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is kind of like that.
I remember Jack. Who is Jack?
Jack is Matt Lawrence, the middle Lawrence brother.
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh,
Yeah.
I do remember him.
The one where every time he pops up on screen, everyone's like, ooh.
What a grand tradition that we just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, we don't get the multicam
bad.
sitcom weird oohing at a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Well, we get a somewhat realization moment from Gobo here as he's real sad in his trap and starts singing "Wise to Myself." He takes it's a very steep fall Gobo takes from his earlier song "I Knew I Was Good" to "Wise to
Yeah.
Myself." Something I noticed in the scene is we've got some wind in the Gorg garden.
Oh.
Something I haven't noticed before. But while Gobo was singing, I thought there was like a mistake because I saw something move, and I was like, "Oh, did somebody like pull a cable and it messed
Oh,
up?"
yeah. I remember seeing that.
But there was
too.
some grass, like dry grass, blowing across the Gorg garden.
Like a leaf or something blows across.
Yeah, and when you see the Gorgs come out and you see Gobo, like their fur is also blowing in the wind. And so I don't
Interesting.
really know why they wanted to introduce this. Maybe to have like the greaseberry tree move a little bit or something, but it just seems like the first time I've noticed that there's actually like wind in the garden. And this is when Ma Gorg discovers Gobo in the trap. But then she remembers he's a Fraggle and runs away. It's kind of a weird moment.
Well, when she lets him go, it almost is a joke that makes sense because once he's loose, it's like the difference between a mouse in a cage and a mouse free.
But this is before I believe she even lets him out. In this
She
first,
also screams and runs away when she lets him out.
Yeah.
Too. But, okay.
but this is the first moment, and I believe in this moment she just like hears it, comes out, sees it's a Fraggle, and goes ah, and runs away.
Right.
And then we cut back to the moment when the Fraggles go see Sprocket. And this is when
Okay, but this would be like if you saw a mouse and it was talking. At first you'd be like, what the fuck?
yeah,
But then you come back and be like, hey, wait, that's kind of cool. I saw Motorcycle Mouse. This is fine.
we could be friends like Stuart Little, right? You want to be my brother?
Yeah. This is one of the saddest scenes in all of Fraggle Rock. I think,
Yeah.
right now.
So earlier when Gobo was hanging around Sprocket, he was wearing his hat that he was wearing earlier when he was greaseberry sliding. Because like I said, they were all dressed up like it was winter. So he has this, I guess Canadians would say toque on, and it comes off. And Sprocket is holding on to it because it's the last thing he has of his friend who left him in a hole. And the Fraggles see this and think, oh, that dog ate our friend Gobo.
Yeah.
And so Wembley, in a blind rage, flies.
Goes into a fugue
Yeah,
state.
flies
Yeah.
towards Sprocket and starts just punching him in the face.
Like really punching him.
yeah.
And Sprocket's kind of just like, okay.
yeah.
But it's really sad. He's screaming and crying and just wailing his little fists on Sprocket.
yeah.
But Fraggles don't seem like they can punch so good.
Yeah. Sprocket doesn't
no
seem to be like,
reaction at all.
actually upset about this. But Moki is very impressed with Wembley's bravery in this moment, which
Mhm.
was a little odd, I guess, that she was so impressed with him beating up a dog. I just feel like Moki would be the non-violence Fraggle.
Sure. Moki's a hypocrite.
She is the one who would say she's for nonviolence, but the moment
Yeah.
Wembley beats up a
With the
dog, she's
blood
like,
started
hell yeah!
shedding, she'd be like, okay.
Wembley, I love
Yeah,
you.
she'd be the first to build a gladiator pit. Like when she starts her cult,
Yeah.
she'd be like, we have to
Oh,
call
we don't
the
have enough
non-believers
food
somehow.
for this cult. Oh,
Yeah.
you two, fight to the death.
Mhm.
Then we have sort of the bizarre resolution to the Gobo story, I think,
Yeah.
where we learn about Ma Gorg that basically because she's a mother, she can't handle the sound of crying without doing something about it.
Okay, I like that. You thought that was weird?
I
Too
think
much
it's
of a
just-
stretch?
I think it goes on for so long that like she keeps saying it over and over. I'm like, okay, we know where this is going now. Like,
Mhm.
but it takes so long to get there that I was just sort of like,
Episode had to be 22 minutes, Matt.
I know, but like from the moment she says like I can't stand crying, it takes Gobo like a little bit too long. I feel like to realize what he should do.
I think what was bothering me about this part was that Gobo is kind of being like rude to her, but it's kind of like, come on, bro, she's trying to help you out, and he just keeps being like, she's so stupid. You're stupid too.
Yeah, you got trapped by her.
Yeah.
But yeah, she does not want the Fraggles stealing her greaseberry plants because they use it for their Gorg butter. And, Gobo argues back, stealing greaseberry plants is no reason to put somebody in prison. To which she replies, yes, it is. So that argument doesn't get him very far.
Yeah.
But
Why did she bring him the butter? I don't even remember. She's just like, here's some butter.
that's their compromise. She decides to let him go because I believe he tells her why he needs it. And so she's like, well, I don't want you taking my plants, but I will give you some Gorg butter, which should help you out. So
I feel like the value of a greaseberry leaf is less than the value of Gorg butter because there's sweat equity in the Gorg butter.
yeah, but if he takes
She's
all the
made a bad
greaseberry
trade.
plant, like she can't make more Gorg butter. It's like a teach a man to fish situation, I think.
It's right on the edge of having enough for more Gorg butter.
Right.
Or one more plant to go away.
Yeah.
I see. I guess that makes sense. I really liked this because I just liked, like, it was nice to see them talking to each other and, I don't know, taking a next step in maybe the show or something of this understanding.
Yeah, and it leads to, just a nice little moment where they just sort of like, here you go, Gobo. You may go free. Go help your friend, your dog friend.
Yeah.
And he does, and he sings a little song to Sprocket about how he can count on him.
They can depend on each other. It's like the Toy Story song.
Yeah, you got a friend in the wall. is the version here. But it's just Gobo singing to Sprocket about how he can count on him, and we get a really, really long shot of Sprocket's butt while he's wiggling and dancing while he's stuck in the hole. Like, there's like a 20-second
episode
shot.
had to be 22 minutes.
Yeah.
man.
They're like, shit, we didn't record enough of Gobo singing, so I guess just cut to the butt.
We have a lot of B-roll of this butt shaking, though.
Why did we record the whole song from the butt's point of view? And it works. The Gorg butter frees Sprocket, and it also ends up freeing Doc, who comes in, says the doctors want to cut the ring off too, and he pets a greasy Sprocket, and the ring comes right off.
I just remembered he also licks the butter off of his hand too, so it's on his dog,
Yeah.
and then he licks it.
Yep.
Great, Doc. Way to go. Also, Gobo's lucky that Junior Pod didn't come out because they would have just snapped his neck. How did the end of that?
Yeah. They don't know how Gorg butter gets made.
No, they don't give a shit.
But yeah, overall, I really like this episode as well. I like the growth. I like the relationship between Gobo and Sprocket. I like the relationship between Gobo and Ma. How the stories are connected. Like the fact that like the Gorgs affected Sprocket in this episode, I really liked.
Yeah. I gave it 4 stars and said it was a perfect episode of Fraggle Rock.
Look at that. Well, let's move on to the next episode of Fraggle Rock then. We got on March 12th, 1984, The Wizard of Fraggle Rock, written by Jocelyn Stevenson and John Pattinson. This is, I think, the first episode besides The Jewels that was written by 2 people. Directed by Norman Campbell. Muppet Wiki note.
Did those 2 people each individually write episodes too?
I don't think John Pattinson ever wrote an episode, at least before this. Right. It's noted on Muppet Wiki that a previous episode referenced Cotter Pin having the idea to make hexagonal towers. And in this episode, we see hexagonal-shaped towers.
What?
Yeah.
That's cool.
After the architect was like, whoa, that's a crazy idea. We're not doing that.
Shut up, old man.
Yeah, I'm the future.
Okay.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Well, we've got Doc dropping some more lore in this episode.
I guess so.
He teaches us that his great-great-uncle, who was a vaudeville magician, was called the Great Doc and would travel the country with his loyal dog, the Great Pooch.
Is that too long ago?
No, I did the math, Sam.
Uncle? Okay.
I thought so too. I was like, great-great-uncle of this old man. I was like, is that vaudeville times? So I did the math.
Is that medieval time?
So I did some rough math, and presuming that every man in Doc's family would have lived to be like 90, which is what Jerry Parks ended up living to. And because people had kids young back then, the math I did involved basically every man in Doc's family living until they're 90, and they all had kids at age 20. That's just the really rough math I did. So if each generation had a kid at age 20, there is a chance that his great-great-uncle would have been alive and an adult during the time of vaudeville, which was like the mid-1890s to the early 1930s. Because basically he probably would have been... So if by that math, Doc's great-great-grandfather would have been born in like 1850-something. And so his brother would have been the great-great-uncle, presumably also born sometime around the mid 1800s. So yeah, he could have been in his adult, like a 40-year-old doing vaudeville with a dog.
Matt, no, people might say a lot of stuff about you, but nobody could say you're not thorough.
Yeah, and some would say too thorough. Most, I would say.
No, we're all. I'm sure the person who wrote this script also did this very similar math that you did.
I mean,
I would assume. I would hope.
it feels like another one of those questions that you would bring up to the scriptwriter and they'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I just wrote a joke. It's fine. But Doc is, temporarily wanting to also join the ranks of a magician and asks Sprocket to tie him up so he can escape, which he immediately does.
He actually does. Amazing.
But is that because Sprocket doesn't have thumbs and can't tie knots, probably?
Sprocket has thumbs. I think Sprocket's given a thumbs up before.
Well, you're not wrong now that I think about it. But yeah, I was like, does Sprocket just not know how to tie knots? Because I think
That could be.
there was an episode, actually, I think, where Doc tried to teach Sprocket to tie knots.
I think you're right. He had a big book of knots. at
Yeah, I don't remember the outcome of that one, but maybe it did pay off. Well, down to the Fraggles. It's Trophy Day.
least. Yeah, it's everyone gets a trophy day. The Fraggles are snowflakes.
Damn kids these days, they're consolation prizes. Everybody getting a trophy back in my day.
I didn't think this was funny because this episode now, like, it's so straightforward, but I feel like if they did this episode now, there would be like a joke like that. And I'm glad that there wasn't.
Yeah, because it's like there's no reference in this to like, ugh, I can't believe like Red being upset as the competitive one of like,
Yeah.
I can't believe everyone gets a trophy. But
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're just all happy everybody gets a trophy, which is great.
Yeah, which absolutely, if this came out today, people would be like, they're teaching the wrong lesson to kids that everyone
Yeah.
should get a trophy. So
They'd be on Fox News for sure.
I'm happy to see that, the Fraggles went woke 40 years ago, Sam.
Yeah.
Well, we have this Chekhov's Doozer glue in this
This
episode.
is so insane. Okay, continue.
You're not wrong. Basically, for the first half of this episode, it feels like every 5 lines, somebody has to mention Doozer glue. And then,
Yeah.
don't get stuck in that Doozer glue. You'll be stuck there forever. And so just constantly mentioning Doozer glue, Doozer
Or
glue.
Cuts to a Doozer who's saying like, this Doozer glue is great stuff. It will last forever.
Yeah, but they also repeatedly mention that this is a test of the Doozer glue. It's the first time they're testing
It's
out.
just so unnecessary for what ends up being the application of this.
Yes.
But anyway, we'll get to
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, Gobo gets his trophy for seeing a poison cackler without it seeing him. A thing that didn't feel like it would come up again, but really, really does. Wembley, of course, can't decide on a trophy. So,
Well, he doesn't feel like he deserves any trophy.
yeah, but he also,
A little bit of both.
yeah, he's Wemblin. But he does end up settling on the trophy for best shirt with banana trees on it.
Yeah, which is a sham because he's the only one who wears that shirt, which he knows and mentions.
Yeah.
And it's the same way he takes every year, too. I think this is really sad. I feel really bad for
Yeah,
him.
he's not proud of it. It'd be like if you got the trophy for like best guy named Sam at Complexly. I'd be like, cool, I get, thanks.
And I would just be living in fear because I would know that the next person named Sam who worked at Complexly would get the trophy next year. And then what would I do?
Well, he takes his trophy and sets it on some Doozer glue, and then
There we
it's
go.
stuck forever, I guess. And he has the extremely sad line saying, I wish I wasn't even me,
Yeah.
thus making a wish that will kind of come true. Because immediately, a horn sounds, and we get a warning from Boober that here comes the shiftiest Fraggle in the rock.
Great. I love this description of him.
Yeah, and, spot on. Because we get the wizard.
We've met so many shifty assholes, too, and this guy takes the cake out of all
He is
of them.
definitely the most immediately shiftiest.
Uh-huh.
No doubt about whether this guy is shifty from the get-go. The wizard here, clearly played by Richard Hunt, sounds just like Richard Hunt. Looks like old Wembley. That'll be important.
The song he sings kicks so much ass. Too.
Yeah. He has a shady little sidekick named 7 Words Max.
I missed that.
So they don't say that in the episode. That apparently is in some like production documents that were released later on. It is also in the subtitles if you watch it on Apple TV Plus with the subtitles on. It credits him as 7 words max. Presumably that would have to do with how the wizard does not want him talking so much about the wizard because he's like, hey, stop right there. Too much information is bad.
The wizard just felt so fully formed
Yes.
the moment he came on screen.
Yeah, he's like a convincing John, but like you can tell immediately, like, oh, this is just a bad guy who, like, if they were going to do a live action Fraggle Rock, could be played by Bob Odenkirk. That's what I pictured.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he is like a Saul.
He's Slippin' Jimmy.
Yeah.
For sure.
But he does get to sing a song about how awesome he is called Is It True? And there's a female Fraggle singing along with him, which seems to be part of his little posse, because later on we see her hanging out with 7 words max as well. But at first I was like, is this a new character? But she doesn't get like a name, I don't believe, at least not said out loud in the episode.
She's eyeless like Boober also.
Yeah, she's got a little bit of Janice Boober look to her. She might be, according to Muppet Wiki, there's a credit in there for tambourine playing Fraggle. That's the only other sort of like weird Fraggle that we haven't heard of before. And she's performed by Sharon Lee Williams, who is a Canadian singer. So I would guess that that's probably who that is.
The voice of Aretha also.
There we go. Well, this is when the wizard asks for an assistant for a trick. And he says, hey, that good-looking Fraggle right there, pointing at Wembley. And we immediately can catch on to his grift here, that he's been looking for someone who looks like him, which is not the strongest plan, but it does pay off in this case.
I guess in retrospect, yeah. That seems like a long shot.
Right, if you're on the run from a giant scary monster and your plan is, I better find someone who looks exactly like me. It seems like you maybe be like a little bit more determined when you come into town of like, does anyone here look like me? But he does do a little bit of actual magic. It seems like he says horse enchiladas, which seems to be his magic phrase, and pulls a big old ball out of Wembley's mouth. And this is when the wizard convinces Wembley that being the wizard is awesome. And as we saw earlier, Wembley doesn't want to be himself right now. He's a little sad about being himself. And there's an exchange in this moment that I really enjoyed where the wizard says, I'll show you something that'll knock the banana trees off your shirt. And Wembley says, oh, no, please don't do that. They're all I've got.
That was really good, too.
Well, to disguise Wembley, they use the Doozer glue to glue the beard to the face, which, presumably, as we have heard so far, could last forever. And then we get a very brief, extremely creepy shot of the creepy poison cackler.
This was scary.
It's from the POV of the poison cackler. You just see his weird spidery arms holding a poster of the wizard and going just like
if I'd seen it as a child, would have been terrifying.
Oh yeah. That thing is terrifying and clearly is like set on revenge. They do a pretty good job of communicating that by like he's holding this flyer for the wizard and is menacingly walking down a cave. The first thing Boober says to Wizard Wembley when he sees him is, you look awful.
I like that recurring, like, you look so sick.
Yeah.
We have to make him food.
Yeah. They don't figure...
And the wizard is also just like, yeah, I'm really sick.
Yeah. He's very smart. He leans into it. He's like, I feel awful. You're right. I need to go to bed. Wherever my bed is, point me in the right direction. Yeah. I also like the touch that the wizard seems to have bad eyes because he has taken his glasses off and given them to Wembley, who is playing the wizard, because they comment that Wembley had Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard and that he should read it. And when he goes to read it, he holds it all the way up to his eyeballs.
I missed
that. It is
that.
all the way up against his eyeballs. And so it's very clear. He also calls him Uncle Traveling Max, I believe, when he reads the postcard. The postcard, by the way, is just Uncle Traveling Matt seeing people with large, bizarre hats at a hair salon.
He gets a perm.
He ends up with a perm. He literally doesn't have hair on the top of his head, but somehow ends up with a perm. And yeah, the Fraggles all think Wembley is sick, and because they're his friends, they of course care about him and want to take care of him. The wizard is super annoyed by this and tries to scare them off by saying he thinks he has a cold or something coming on. It's going to be contagious. To which Moki says, oh, gee, an epidemic. We've never had one of those before.
That was a bit of an alarming line.
Yeah.
The Fraggles would not be good at social distancing, I don't think.
Oh, no. I mean, they all live in like an underground hole with no airflow. So,
No kind of ventilation or anything.
yeah.
Here's where it lost me a little bit.
Why is that?
Because it's just like, there's so much tying Wembley up, and like, this part takes so long when they're like, let's tie him up. And then they tie him up. And it's like, okay, now he's tied up. And now we'll stand over here and talk. And it's just kind of like, this is boring.
Yeah, they make sure to cut to the Doozers in the middle of that, where the Doozer says, the glue's
The
still
glue's
holding.
Still great. Okay, cool.
Yep. And then we cut back to the poison cackler, who's still creeping in, still coming. Wembley just keeps trying to tell his friends that he is not actually the wizard, and they don't believe him. In the middle of this, Wembley goes to get the wizard from his sleeping spot and yanks him by his tail out of the bunk. And I just love the imagery of that, like yanking that Fraggle down by his tail and him falling out of his bunk bed. The one thing I noticed in this episode, too, is that there's not a lot of boober because of 7 Words Max being performed by Dave Goelz.
There's also the scene where he's like, that's the shiftiest Fraggle. That is Boober and Gobo talking to each other. And I kind of like that scene because it was like, Gobo and Boober know that they're the only two who aren't complete morons, is kind of
Right.
what that scene felt like.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only ones who are peers, and all the other ones are like, we're always solving these guys' problems. But me and you, we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, and then Gobo's like, should we hang out? Should we be friends? And Boober's like, no, not that far. No. We're acquaintances at best. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, they're on the same wavelengths, but if they were in the car together for a long amount of time, it would be really awkward.
Yeah. But the poison cackler does show up at the cave. He's this crab-like spider scorpion thing with
He's
random
great.
horns all over him.
Yeah.
He's a great puppet, but and truly terrifying. I still don't know. Do we learn what the wizard has done to him?
No,
Okay.
we didn't. Well, we do. We learn that he likes to eat smoke bombs. So
right. That's
the
why
wizard
he's chasing
thinks
him.
he did something to him.
Right. He just assumes
The
yeah.
wizard did do something to him.
Yes.
But the cackler does not care about whatever that thing was.
Right, of course. But at this point, surprise, surprise, the Doozer glue begins to give. And this is when it is revealed that Wembley is actually Wembley and not the wizard.
It's just such a, like, I didn't even notice his beard fall off or anything. Like, it's not like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like they set up the glue thing so much, but it's
Yeah.
so useless because it could have just been glue or it could have just fallen off some other way.
Yeah.
Like, to say the word Doozer glue 15 times in an episode, I thought like a thing would fall on the cackler's head or something like that. But
Oh, yeah, like a tower would fail, and the Doozer
Yeah.
glue would also help save them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this might be one of those episodes that Sujith, like, when he was here, talked to us about, where it's like, an episode's running long, you have to cut some stuff, and maybe this was one where the Doozer glue did have a bigger part in the plot, and they were just like, well, we gotta trim this down, so
lose the Doozer
here,
glue.
it's just the beard, and it falls off. Go.
Yeah.
Overall, I will say I like the episode. I like the wizard as a character a lot. And unfortunately, it seems like we'll never see him again.
I know, I was surprised by that.
Yeah. What'd you rate this episode?
I gave this one 3 stars because it starts so strong, and I just wanted to love this episode. But then by the end, I was kind of just like, "What is going on?" here?"
Well, let's pause from our Fraggle Rock to do a little trip to Australia here in the middle. And go on March 12th, 1984. We have Big Bird in Australia. The special we talked about a little bit already. Wasn't like Big Bird in China or the other one.
Big Bird in Japan eventually.
Yeah, but we already watched another Big Bird. What was it that I
did?
already forgot about?
We watched 2 Big Birds.
Yeah. Didn't we?
I don't think so.
No, we watched Don't Eat the Pictures. That's what I was thinking of.
Right.
I was like,
Oh,
Big Bird has
which is
interacted with
kind of-
gods multiple times.
Yeah, you're right. Don't Eat the Pictures is kind of like Big Bird in the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yeah. But the one thing we couldn't see from this that did apparently happen is that Big Bird also conducts the Melbourne Philharmonic Orchestra,
Right.
which we've seen him do with some other orchestras before. We didn't see that bit, but we did see Bruno the Trash Man coming out, and we did see Big Bird with his friend Shivers the Penguin.
Mm.
So they introduced Big Bird at the beginning of the one clip, and instead of Big Bird, this is where Bruno the Trash Man and Oscar the Grouch come out and do the old "I ate Big Bird" routine.
Well, I don't think you should do that in front of children.
I agree. You're going to traumatize
You're gonna
children
fuck 'em up,
who he does explain that he didn't actually eat Big Bird, but at the same time,
What did
For a
he do?
moment-
Bite Big Bird on the ass and get a bunch of cheeks out, or a bunch of feathers out of his cheeks, or what?
Yeah, for a moment, kids are genuinely going to think that Oscar the Grouch, like, destroyed and ate Big Bird.
Yeah, he's like, I had some hot sauce too.
I can't imagine this
Yeah.
happening past like 1994 or something. Like, I feel like at a
Yeah.
certain point they're gonna be like, Carol, stop.
I guess it's the kind of thing like your dirtbag uncle would say. to you.
Yeah, which Oscar is.
So
It makes sense. There's a few
Yeah.
moments throughout these segments where I'm like, all right, Carol, like when you're away from the Sesame Street like writers and crew, you get to have maybe a little too much fun. Reel it in. But yeah, I think the main thing we see, Oscar says he sent Big Bird to the top of Sydney Tower, and he has the musicians throw away their music and gives them new music. Presumably, I Love Trash.
I would assume it's got to be, but we don't see it.
We don't see the clip goes away. These are both short clips that were sort of like bonus deleted parts of I Am Big Bird. So they're on this YouTube channel that has a bunch of bonus clips for like I think the Kickstarter people who pledged towards I Am Big Bird. I think is why these clips exist. So thankfully they exist at all, but we don't have the entirety of the performance.
It must exist somewhere, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Somebody has this on a tape somewhere from when it aired. I just haven't found it. And the other clip is Big Bird introducing his friend Shivers the Penguin, who is just shy, and that's kind of it.
Kind of annoying.
Yeah, I kind of hate Shivers.
And so he's puppeteered by Shelley Duvall. What's his name?
Carol Spinney.
He is puppeteered by Carol Spinney, while Carol's being Big Bird.
Yeah.
And just like something about it doesn't quite work. for
This
me.
felt like Carol saying in a meeting, what if I made Big Bird even more complicated?
Yeah.
What if I sat down and Big Bird had his own puppet that I was going to puppeteer that is a penguin? So I'm going to have my left hand performing this penguin, and I'm going to have my right hand performing Big Bird's head up above me, and I'm going to have those two talk
And they
to
both
each
talk
other.
in different voices.
And this seems like a good idea to him. Shivers does not have a ton of appearances in the world of Sesame Street. He does come back, I believe, a couple times, but it seems like maybe one of those ideas that they were like, yeah, this is more trouble than it's worth. And also, Shivers doesn't really have any interesting traits at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just a couple times where his voice, like, he forgets to move the right mouth. And it's just,
Yeah, and
too
it's like
much.
the voice is not that different from Big Bird, so it just
Yeah.
sounds like a different Big Bird.
We already love Big Bird, Carol. You can just be Big Bird.
Well, while Big Bird is still there in Australia, he decides to go visit the Mike Walsh show, which I don't love Mike Walsh. He's one of those, can you believe I'm talking to a bird kind of guys.
That sucks.
And it feels outdated at this point that anyone is surprised that they're talking to a Muppet. I
It's been
understand.
like 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, I understand that this man has not talked to Muppets before. That's fine. Big Bird's imposing. I understand. But it is a bit weird that this man seems to not care at all about Big Bird and just seems to be going through it.
Yeah. And at the end, he's kind of also like, this gets sucked, sort of.
And it does, to be fair to him.
He's not wrong, I guess.
Like,
you're right,
whoever
yeah.
prepped this did not do a good job either writing it or, like, queuing him up. He introduces it by saying that Big Bird is out here for Coles store, Coles is a chain of stores, of supermarkets in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I could not find any information of why Big Bird was there for Coles store, like doing some appearances maybe. It seems like a weird thing for Big Bird to do,
Yeah.
but that's what he says at the beginning. He's like, so you're out here for Coles store.
Go
And he's
all
like,
the
of
way
course.
to Australia for a grand opening of a grocery store.
Seems like a weird choice.
Yeah.
Apparently, the thing we don't get to see is that Big Bird is around for a little bit longer and sings "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes."
Why? What?
I don't know. It's a song that we saw on the Muppet Show that Zoot and Rolf
Yeah.
performed, where smoke starts coming out of Zoot's saxophone. But no idea why Big Bird decided
That's
to sing that
so
one instead of
weird.
like Abgadeka or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly weird
What the hell?
performance.
But yeah, it is written so that they're like talking over each other, and it's just so clumsy.
Mm-hmm.
Australians and Muppets don't mix good.
So
Except that
far.
one guy, I guess, was an American guy living in Australia who didn't know who Jim and Frank were.
Maybe there's just a bubble over Australia that they don't let enough Muppet stuff in.
Yeah.
That it's
that could be.
I don't know. We should have asked Jared when he was here.
Yeah. Jared, do you know anything about the Muppets?
And lastly, our little detour here from Fraggle Rock is the People's Choice Awards, which aired on March 15th, 1984. Like I said, the award went to Sesame Street. The award was accepted on stage by Bob McGrath, Sonia Manzano, and Emilio Delgado. But the entire thing is pretty much just them talking over each other.
It's like a Robert Altman scene where everybody's just talking at the same time. You get the little snippets of conversation that are kind of important, but it's just like a weird slice of life of what if a bunch of boring people were sitting around a table talking to each other?
Which,
Michael, something like this.
If you give me a Robert Altman Muppet movie of them just sitting around a table talking with all three company of Muppets, I'm on board. But this ain't it, and this isn't a Robert Altman story. This is a room of Muppets who had no idea what to do for 5 minutes.
Nashville could easily be, or like Prairie Home Companion, that could be a Muppet movie. He's got a Muppet vibe. I think he's dead. I think he's dead, but...
clearly, this, when we start talking about other things for too long, clearly means the thing we watched wasn't that great.
Wasn't good.
Because this is, it's just everyone sitting around a table talking over each other. There's only a few drinks on the table. They're all milk.
I didn't notice.
The two-headed monster has 2 straws to share a drink. Oh, actually, no, it's weirder than that. There's 2 drinks in front of the two-headed monster. One has 1 straw. The other one has 2 straws. So I don't really know what the vibe is there.
They screwed up.
Bert and Ernie have 1 drink with 2 straws, which is very cute.
Yeah.
And then the other milks are sort of scattered between Muppets, randomly. There's 5 milks for 12 characters.
It is funny that they're drinking milk.
Yeah.
But it also seems like they maybe just were what? We have to put something on the table.
Yeah.
There's some milk.
And then we go to the count, yelling, "We must count the votes," which would be a very helpful clip during sometimes. I think there could be a useful GIF pulled from that. And then Uncle Traveling Matt just says, "What is this place?" over and over to Sprocket.
He's freaking out. He's losing his mind.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like they wrote anything for this. And they were just quick, Uncle Traveling Matt, what would he say?
They didn't write anything, but they went to a lot of trouble to get all those people there.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes me wonder of who was puppeteering what puppets at what time, because you have a lot of overlap as far as characters of, Jim Henson and Dave Goelz and everything, all in the same room. And so it's who is actually in that room? Who's doing the extra characters? Did they pre-record audio for that? I can't imagine. So who knows? But it was nice to see our Muppet friends. We have not seen them lately. We saw some of them in our catch-up episode, but that was mostly Rolf and the Country Trio. Right. The last time we actually sort of talked about the Muppets, the core Muppets, was in Rocky Mountain Holiday, which was over 2 months ago for us, Sam.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was 10 months ago for people who were watching stuff on TV at this time. So they'd almost gone a full year without seeing Kermit. So let's get into March 19th, 1984, the last episode of Fraggle Rock we watched for this batch, the Doozer contest, written by our friend Sujith Varghese and directed by George Bloomfield. This is the one where Sprocket is growling and barking outside at another dog, while Doc is amazed by an ant farm.
The ant farm thing could have been the thing. I don't know why they didn't just be ants work together. Imagine if they didn't. That's all you need.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere, but it does give us the line, "Keep it down, you'll disturb the ants." But when Sprocket is telling Doc about the new dog in town and how Schimmelfinny likes him, Sprocket does a nice little puppet show with his hands, imitating Schimmelfinny giving the new dog a bone, which Doc immediately understands.
I feel like sometimes Doc understands Sprocket without him needing to do a little show.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes the barking is immediately. He's "Oh, I know you don't like Schimmelfinny." Then we get our small little moment that we get in these Doozer episodes where the Fraggles show up for a second and transition us into the Doozerdom.
Yeah.
They're looking for a new place to get a bite to eat. They're looking.
I like this.
Yeah.
They're looking for the cool new restaurant in town.
But they're looking for the best food they can find. And these stories, obviously, they do come together, surprisingly. I thought we were just going to not see the Fraggles for the rest of the episode.
I like the Fraggles in this because they are just a force of stupid nature.
Mm-hmm. Just being used by the Doozers to settle their arguments. As Sam alluded to during his summary, this is mostly the beginning of this episode is sparked by Flange and Modem Doozers disagreeing about why the Fraggles liked their towers, which were made with tomato extract and mustard powder. They ask the Fraggles specifically, or I guess they listen to the Fraggles talk about.
Yeah, they're just overhearing.
Yeah, they listen to them talk about why they liked the towers so much, because clearly the Fraggles are loving these towers more than any Doozer tower they've ever eaten before.
Yeah.
And the Fraggles are not really committed to why they liked them so much, but they sort of land on the side of like, yeah, I think it was the mustard. You're right. It was the mustard that made these so good.
Yeah.
Which, of course, makes Modem extremely proud.
An illegal emotion to have if you're a Doozer.
This is when they talk about taking credit for things and how Doozers don't take credit for things. In fact, the last person who did was Old Man Pipe Wrench back in the old days.
Yeah. There's a lot of allusions to the Doozers seem to have kind of a dark past.
Right. Like, what are the old days? Like, what
'Cause
happened?
Pride has, like, I think the architect refers to, like, Pride tearing the Doozers apart at one point. Like, he hoped they'd never go back to those old emotions.
Well, I think we also see a bit of, I think we see a hint of what could become a Doozer army pretty quickly in this episode. So
they're easily whipped up into
yeah,
very well-trained militias, basically.
yeah, and even Flange is like, did I go too far?
Yeah.
I think I may have overdid it. But then it's the next day, and Flange confronts Modem and hurls his helmet and says, I have hurled the helmet.
Yep.
Which clearly, to everyone in the Doozerdom, means something. Because he's basically asked for a duel. But the architect begs and pleads for them to cancel this competition.
Yeah, because they're easily whipped into violence. 'Cause
yeah.
they used to be a warlike species, I think.
Briefly aside, we get to the moment where Doc gives boxing gloves to Sprocket.
That his dad gave to him. It's like, bro, you have to pass down this family heirloom to your dog.
Well, yeah, because I guess the theory is, which kind of fails, Doc says that his dad suggested the boxing gloves because by the time you put the boxing gloves on, you will have decided that fighting wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Sprocket goes, I'm going to fight this dog.
Yeah, by the time he's done saying that, Sprocket has the boxing gloves on. He's like, okay,
Yeah.
time to go.
And even when Sprocket's like training later, Doc doesn't say like, hey, this is not what I meant to happen.
Yeah. He does say you'll fight and you'll see what it means to fight. And that is kind of like, ugh.
Maybe he's like, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Then the day of the contest, I wrote my notes. I really hope this ends with them realizing mustard and ketchup need to go together. Like the tomato extract and the mustard is clearly the answer to this problem. That's where it's going. But I was kind of afraid that it wasn't going to go that way somehow.
That would have been weird.
Yeah, right? But the Fraggles are on their way. They're bringing a picnic. Wembley at this point has an unaddressed yo-yo that he's playing with as they walk.
It's a weird yo-yo, too. It's just a silver ball on a string.
Yeah, it's just like a shiny silver ball.
I understand why it's not just a yo-yo.
Yeah. But they read the Uncle Traveling Matt postcard of the week, where he sees the CN Tower in Toronto and decides it's the ultimate Doozer construction. And it looks delicious,
Kind of fun.
but it tastes terrible. So he needs to go to the top
not
of
so
it,
good.
where he believes the better tasting Doozer sticks are.
It is unclear as to whether or not it was disgusting up there or not.
It seems like he didn't love it. Like, he didn't necessarily chomp down on the metal or anything like that, but
He does say he took a bite, though, I think.
Yeah. He rides the elevator to the top, and he claims the tower for Fraggles, planting a flag with the little ancient Fraggle logo.
Yeah, I love that.
But then we get to see Sprocket training for his boxing match. He's beating up what looks like an inflatable pickle. I know it's one of those, like, there's probably a cartoon character that they don't have the copyright for on the other
Yeah.
side, but it just looks like a big green pickle from the side we get to see.
Uh-huh.
I am curious, like, what would be on the other side? Like, what would be the popular cartoon in, like, 1984 or 1983? That would have been...
That was pre-Ninja Turtles, right?
Ninja Turtles was
'Cause I
also
had
my
a
first thought, but it was like...
Because I had a Ninja Turtle one of those.
Yeah, no, that's pre-Ninja Turtles cartoon, so it wouldn't be that. Wembley shows up to the Doozer Towers looking for his yo-yo that he lost. And they're like, well, you know, we need the smartest, most decisive Fraggle. And we got this guy, so he'll work. And this is when they start singing Doozer Building Song. Parentheses, we'll work together building shapes in the air, which is a wild name for a song. And Wembley wisely points out, hey, guys, these taste great together, so you should just combine your recipes. I also noted during that song they sing the line, "We will build till we die."
Yep. They sure do. It seems like a scary song for Wembley to hear.
Yeah, he's like, guys, I heard some shit about the Doozers. I didn't love
Are they
it.
okay? Yeah.
Well, to wrap up that episode, Sprocket comes back and he just reveals that they made friends, him and the other dog. They didn't fight, and he gets his big old dinosaur bone. And overall, I love Doozer episodes, so just give me more of these, please.
Yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. Another perfect episode of Fraggle Rock, I think. It's going to be really weird if Gobo and Sprocket aren't friends next time they see each other.
I'm a little worried about...
It won't be.
Yeah, I believe some of the relationships do sort of change through the seasons between Gorgs and Fraggles, etc. But, I'm a little worried that there's sort of a 1 step forward, 2 steps back, progression through this. That, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll find out as we watch more episodes of Fraggle Rock. But that means it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Pa Gorg, the purple king of the universe who doesn't seem to be the best father, but does, supposedly, get a bit better throughout the seasons.
He kind of seems okay. He's not horrible.
I mean, he's just so rude to both his wife and son.
Yeah, that's true.
He called his son stupid so many times in the first season.
Hell, he was pretty stupid.
Pa Gorg debuted in 1983, just like every other Fraggle Rock character that we've talked about so far. Back then, his body was performed by Gord Robertson, who will go on to do a number of Henson projects, but he also went on to play the title character on Zaboomafoo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he also worked with Sherry Lewis on Lamb Chop's Play Along, and he was the chief puppeteer on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, where he was the face puppeteer of Michelangelo.
Oh, okay.
And one of the puppeteers for Johnny Five in Short Circuit 2.
Ah.
So he does some lesser sequels.
A lot of sequels, yeah.
And in Back to the Rock, Andy Hayward is the body for Pa Gorg. The voice and face of Pa Gorg in the series is Jerry Nelson, of course. It's Jerry Nelson. We've talked about him 1,000 times for all of his characters. He's Gobo, he's Floyd, he's everyone. But in Back to the Rock, Pa Gorg's voice and face are performed by Frank Meshkulit, who we've talked about before.
Yeah.
He currently does the puppetry for, also on Back to the Rock, Boober and Uncle Traveling Matt, while Dave Goelz does voiceover later on. He was also, the reason we talked about him previously, he was Junior Gorg's body in season 5 of the original series. So he went from being a Junior Gorg body to a Pa Gorg face and voice.
What the heck?
Yeah. But yeah, his I got a brief little note about Frank Meshkulit. His Muppet career was launched, this is from Muppet Wiki, when he was working as a bike mechanic, and a teacher encouraged him to audition with Jim Henson because Jim put out a call, an open casting call for a project. And he was like, okay.
I know a guy who likes puppets. This guy who works on bikes.
There wasn't more information than that as far as I saw. But Frank Meshkulit said they needed 75 puppeteers because Jim Henson wanted to do a shot with the biggest number of puppeteers in the history of television. Doesn't say what it was. I don't know. Maybe it's a Fraggle scene.
Okay.
Maybe it's the end of Muppets Take Manhattan. I'm not sure what he's talking about here. But he said, I did something hugely stupid. I drew a little sort of Senior Wence's face on my hand and did my tattoo voice from Fantasy Island. I just kept talking, figuring they'd throw me out any second. And apparently, that worked.
He was really good at it.
Yeah. And I also wanted to note that in the animated series of Fraggle Rock, Patrick Penny does the voice of Pa Gorg. Patrick Penny, notably, the voice of Painty the pirate who sings the theme song for SpongeBob SquarePants.
Cool.
Which, if you imagine that voice and Pa Gorg, that makes sense to me.
Huh.
Pa Gorg's family, he's got Ma, he's got Junior, and he's apparently the great-great-grandson of the first Gorg king, King Gorgus the Great, implying that there were three Gorg kings between Gorgus and Pa Gorg.
Yeah. Representing possibly thousands of years.
Yeah, that we'll never learn about, probably. But that is unfortunately about all we know right now for Pa Gorg. I give him a 6 out of 10, Sam.
I kind of hate him. I give him a 5.5 out of 10.
I'm sure he would hate both those ratings.
Yeah, and he'd kick us all the way across a big field and our guts would splatter everywhere because he's 30 feet tall.
So, Sam, before we go, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy or at least watch this week?
I didn't watch or enjoy jack shit.
What?
Except I've been watching baseball. because it's my second year of liking the Dodgers. Man, they were so good last year, and they suck so bad this year.
Oh, that's a
It's
bummer.
sad. They lost 12-0
Oh
2
boy,
days ago.
that's not great.
Yep. But they've won some. They just, when they do bad, they do really bad. And it's, I'm emotionally invested in sports, and it's the first time it's ever happened to me. But I love my boys and their shapely asses.
On the same page, at least the part about the sports, not so much the asses. I've been watching the Seattle Kraken in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Only their
They made the playoffs?
Yeah, their second year in the league. So they made the playoffs their second year in the league, which is,
Pretty good.
pretty good. Not feeling terribly hopeful about their chances right now. They are playing the Colorado Avalanche, who won the Stanley Cup last year. And they won the first game, and I was like, hell yeah, going all the way, boys. And then they lost the next two games, playing quite poorly. So I think what happened was Colorado underestimated them in the first game, and then Colorado had a talk where they're like, hey guys, we're actually
should
really
play
good. So we can beat them. And they're like, oh yeah, we are good. And then they went and beat them.
They're like, fine, we'll try hard.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So yeah, I think that's not going to go well. By the time people are hearing this, they'll know how it went, but not super stoked about the rest of that series because I don't think it's going to go our way. But the other thing I did want to mention that I watched this week was the Power Rangers reunion special, Power Rangers Once and Always, which is now out on Netflix. And I messaged you a little bit about this, and it's bad, but I think it's bad in exactly the same way the original series is bad. Like, if you went back and watched the original series, you'd be like, oh boy, how did I watch this as a kid? But this feels exactly the same as me to that. And I think it's like, for better or worse, like, if you're going to do a reboot, I feel like they should capture the feeling of watching the thing you watched as a kid, and they shouldn't just recreate the thing you watched as a kid, which is what they do. Like, if we got a new Muppet Show, we're not going to want them to recreate exactly the way the Muppet Show was in the 70s.
No.
We're going to want something that feels like what people think the Muppet Show was.
Does it have the same kind of music?
Yep.
Okay,
And it's also, it's one of those who is this for things, because like it's written and acted and the special effects are all like a children's show, like it was. But it clearly is meant to be for us, the 35-year-olds.
like, people die and stuff in it, right?
Yeah, they deal with Trini's death. They say the word death a lot. Like they talk about death over and over.
Somebody's talking about that on Twitter.
It's like they didn't want to take it too edgy. So basically, what they just did is like it's a normal episode of Power Rangers, and they just say the word death a lot. It's like the one thing that makes it more edgy. But yeah, it just feels like the series in the best and worst ways. And yeah, it's just like some of the Power Rangers have held up their acting chops and others haven't, is what I will say. And I understand because some of them
aren't in it, right? Like Kimberly's on it.
Yeah, so Kimberly and Jason are not in it. Jason David Frank, I believe, was still alive when they made it, but also chose to not be in it.
Interesting.
Kimberly, Amy Jo Johnson, has alluded to the fact that, like, basically she didn't want to be in it. Like, she was asked and just was kind of like, I don't love that idea. Yeah. And so what they do is they basically, like, they are in it. Like, the red, green, and pink ranger are in it, fighting at the beginning as Tommy, Jason, and Kimberly. But then Rita captures them and shrinks them down to toy size.
Into action figures, right?
And so we don't have to see them or talk to them.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So yeah, they're technically characters in the film, but they are not actually.
And it's Robo Rita, right?
Yep.
Rita's nice now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really glad we didn't do the Power Rangers podcast we talked about doing at some point, Sam.
That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, we talked about doing that before we did Commitment, of just doing a thing where we watched every single episode of Power Rangers ever.
It would have been so hard to talk about.
We would have hated ourselves way more than we do now. Which is 0 currently. I love Commitment, so we're doing good.
Speak for yourself, not because of Commitment.
Well, yeah, that has nothing to do with me, though. I don't schedule that hate. Well, before we go, we want to let you know what we'll be watching next time. And next week, it's just 4 more episodes of Fraggle Rock Season 2 from April of 1984. And those are the episodes entitled Red's Club, The Secret of Convincing John.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Manny's Land of Carpets.
I can't wait to meet Manny.
And Junior Sells the Farm.
These sound very good.
They're very good titles.
Who's he sell it to?
Sir Hubris, the trash heap, who knows?
Manny, maybe.
Maybe Manny. It's like, I made all this money off of carpets. You sell me your farm. Well, Before we go, then, we need to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Go to commitment.com if you'd like to pick up a Commitment logo enamel pin or check out our Patreon page, or there's a contact form there where you can send us a nice little note for our 100th episode that we could read. If you don't want to send it there, you can send it to mail@commitment.com, which is our email address. Or you can even go to Twitter or Instagram, where you can follow us at CommitmentPod, and we'll post the links and the info about what we're watching every single week if you want to keep up with what we're watching. I can't imagine anyone has actually watched everything we've ever watched and not made content out of it. That would be surprising to me, but
Yeah.
good job if you have. But you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.